Alright guys, welcome back to some more MX bikes. Today, this first part of the video. There's a bunch of stuff we have to show you in this video, but the first part here, we are running on the pit bike track. It is a mod, and I do have the pit bike to show you. We have some pretty sick whips to show you on the pit bike, but the first part here I want to show you, the reason we're using the RMZ 250 is because what I was trying to do is I had figured out how to do the terrain deformation, the Erode in the game, thanks to GDub MX, and it didn't, I don't know why, I had it turned way up, but it doesn't work on this track. I ran a bunch of laps on it, and it just never really worked, so the Erode, we had to do that on a different track, which I do show you. It's pretty crazy. We do use a different bike for... Well, it's a pit bike, but we do use a different pit bike. This is the 125 two-stroke pit bike, which this thing is crazy. If you haven't, it's not really a new mod, but if you haven't tried this bike, it was really weird to use, and it had a bunch of power. It was actually really easy to overjump, loop out, you know, all that stuff. So the first lap here I have to show you is just a clean, smooth, pretty decent lap. I feel like we hit the track pretty good. I did, thanks to a comment, get rid of the lock to bike. I never knew what that really was, and once we took it off, it looks way better. Way better. We move a bit more, and it just feels better. So thank you for the tip. If you're a big pro MX bikes player or just know a lot more than I do, feel free to let me know in the comments. I do appreciate the tips. I don't play the game a lot. I should play more to get better, but I don't know. I don't really have the time, so we just haven't dedicated that to getting better. So this lap is the same. It's the same track, but we're throwing some whips. You know, they're pretty big. I feel like we did pretty sweet scrubs and whips on this little baby pit bike. It actually felt easier to scrub and whip on this, probably because it's so small and short and whatnot. But a little bit of a bobble there, but for the most part, pretty decent. We could have got a bit more sideways. I wanted to do a really big, long wheelie on this bike because it was really easy to wheelie on it. I already said that it was easy to loop out and over jump and whatnot, but this bike compared to the other pit bike is crazy. I should have used this bike for the Erode testing, which I'm going to show you here in a bit, but I chose to use the standard four-stroke pit bike, which doesn't have near the power of this 125 two-stroke. So pretty sweet. We do show you the replay, which shows the whipping a little bit better. I know some of you guys really prefer the third person, which it looks cool. The replay is awesome, but I always say it every video, I don't prefer third person in this game. I feel like it looks okay, but it doesn't look amazing. And first person, I mean, this kind of sim game, it just makes sense, right? It feels right to play it in first person, but third person replay, the camera replay is pretty sweet. The camera angles here are pretty good. They get a little bit weird sometimes, but probably because of the track, I suppose. But yeah, shows the whips, shows the... We did get some different gear too, so don't worry. I know we've been using the same gear for like however many videos, but we do switch it up here for the second part of the video. And I don't know, it's not hard to install mods. You probably have to watch a tutorial, but it is more annoying to install mods in this game than it is, like, for instance, MX versus ATV Reflex. That's like way easier. But this, I'm not saying this is hard. So this is going to be a full lap around this track, the short practice track. But I have a bunch of edits in it to show the terrain deformation, the Erode. So you can already see the ruts forming, and there are some spots, especially where you start breaking into corners or if you crash or whatever, there's like huge holes that get formed, and the ruts get really deep, especially if you're a really good player and could hit the same rut over and over again. I'm guessing the rut would get insane and really deep and really tough to ride. But for a player such as my caliber, we kind of, you know, after, I think I did 30 or 40 laps on this track, to get it as rough and nasty as possible, but eventually the ruts kind of push together and you get this really chopped out, rough part. You know, it's already really rough there, but the ruts kind of start to go away. So, I mean, they're big. This is with the terrain deformation set to 20, I believe, and it probably would be worse on a 250 or 450. I don't know how that works in the game. I don't know if the pit bike, you know, does the same amount of deformation as the big bikes. I really don't know, but it was really fun. It was really sweet. I did find the toughest part about doing this was, yes, riding the ruts is obviously tough, and the choppiness and the roughness of the track, but the toughest part for me was after doing a few laps, I felt like I couldn't sit down in the corners. I felt like we had to stand or we were crashing easier. I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These ruts are so deep, you know, whatever, but I felt like when we were dabbing, the bike would catch on something, or our foot or whatever would catch, and it was way easier to crash. Here's the third-person TV replay camera to show you the track. I feel like this shows the tracks, or the track and the ruts a tiny bit better. And you can see our new gear, which I do believe is by RKDM. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But yes, pretty sweet gear, and the ruts are huge. And I felt like it was really cool to ride the pit bike. I mean, the pit bike, in some of the spots on the track where the ruts were really, really deep, the bike basically disappears in the ruts. I mean, those tiny wheels, they get caught up. It feels like the foot peg is catching on things, and the roughness. Now, again, this bike didn't have the same power as the 125 two-stroke pit bike we were using, but it was easier to control, and I don't know. I felt like it would have been better to use the 125. It would have been even better to use a full-size bike, but I mean, the terrain deformation, the Erode, isn't anything new, and if you're familiar to MX bikes, you probably have either one, tried this, or at minimum seen it. You can see how rough it is there. We're just bouncing all over the place. It was really, really tough to control. It also did make it a bit easier because this bike, it was limited on power. It wasn't really fast. It only was a 3-speed. It wasn't, you know, we couldn't jump a lot, but it did feel easier to control. So, yes, let me know in the comments what you guys think. This was awesome. This Erode, turning it up to 20 was insane. These ruts are wild. But, yeah, really fun stuff. The pit bike is an awesome mod. I encourage you guys to try out the pit bike and the pit bike track. And definitely, again, try the Erode. It's really fun. Try it on the full-size bike. Try and ride your own ruts. I feel like if you were to try and stay in your same rut, definitely can make you a better player. So you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.